Alright, what's up YouTube? So I'm back with another video. I appreciate everybody that watched the last one. It actually did a lot better than I thought it would do. I think that it's going to be trending towards 1,000 views, which makes me pretty happy. So making sure I stay consistent, getting a video out a week. This video is just going to kind of be based off of 5 things I wish I knew before I bought a motorcycle. So pretty excited to jump on. My goal is to keep this video less than about 12 minutes, so that's why I'm very specific on these topics that I want to talk about. Close the visor. All right, so 5 things I wish I knew before I got a motorcycle. And number 1, I think is pretty easy. So if you didn't catch in my first video, I kind of talked about it, and it was this is my 4th motorcycle. And I've been riding for 4 months, and that sounds absolutely insane, I know, but I didn't get what I wanted the first time. You know, I was super hesitant about getting into a sport bike. I just thought all sport bikes were just screaming fast, and you know, I didn't think that, you know, it was going to be right for me. You know, not only was I trying to get comfortable riding a motorcycle for myself, but you know, also I wanted to get comfortable riding a motorcycle for my family as well. So I didn't want to get anything that was too crazy, right? But without getting off into a tangent, I think the key thing that I wanted to talk about with this is understanding the 600s, the leader bikes, and the small displacement bikes, right? So this can be an entire different video in itself, but each one of these bikes has its own unique characteristics. So when it comes to, you know, some of the lower displacement bikes, right, they're usually a lot more beginner friendly. Then you get to the 600s, which are, you know, it's a true sport bike, right? You know, it makes its power on the high end of the revs, which isn't the best for the street, but it's perfect for the track. And then you have your leader bikes that are just all around monsters. You know, they make a lot of torque, so they have a lot of power down low. They have the power on the high end. They're just absolute beasts of a bike. They're probably a little bit more street friendly than a 600, honestly. You know, you got to drive a 600, you got to ride a 600 a lot faster than you do a leader bike. But again, that's not the basis of what I want to go into here, because we can go into the details, you know, a whole lot, right? But the idea is just do your research, understand what small displacement bikes are, understand the 600s, understand the 650s, you know, the sport, understand some of the sport touring bikes that are out there. Every bike has something different to offer. Make sure you truly understand the purpose of the bike. And then that leads me into number 2. When buying a bike, understand this. If you're young, especially if you're a young male, your insurance rates are going to be extremely high. When I bought my Aprilia 660, to some that might seem to be a beginner friendly or intermediate style bike, the insurance would have been about $4,000 a year for me. Now, to put that in perspective, I'm not good at math, but you know, you're going to be spending well over $200-300 a month, and actually a little bit more than that, you know, for this insurance. And you know, that's me. I'm 26 years old, and you know, that's not coming down for me. So I actually got lucky, and having 2 bikes is actually cheaper than having 1. So yeah, the insurance is just it's far from cheap. You know, you can mess around with your premiums all you want, you know, with all the things that you can add on and take off your insurance, but it's far from cheap. Don't think that it's something very cheap to get into. It is absolutely not. If you own the bike, you know, you can kind of get liability, but do you want liability on a motorcycle? You know, is the question, right? Do you want to take that risk? Do you want to risk totaling your bike out? You probably don't. So don't cheap out on insurance. Plan it out. You know, use the tools that they have to kind of get some ideas, some quotes on what you want. Try different insurance companies as well. You know, if you have multiple policies, usually you can get some better deals depending on who you are insured with. So just keep that in mind. And the third thing is, honestly, it's not much cheaper than a car as you might think it is. You know, there are some bikes that are cheap, that, you know, can be pretty pocket friendly, but depending on the bike that you get, if you don't do the right amount of research, you're going to be spending a lot of money. This 2007 Ducati 1098, to get an oil change and then my chain adjusted, was about $259. Now you're probably wondering, you know, why didn't I just do something like that myself? Personally, I'm just not comfortable with it yet. You know, being a newer rider, I'm not comfortable with working on this bike. You know, so I kind of seeked some advice, but you have to keep that in mind. You know, you might not be super savvy with tools or working on bikes, so that you might have to lean on someone else to work on your bike for you. So you have to plan for that. You have to plan for those costs, you know, and you're actually going to want the more oil changes more frequently on these bikes. You know, in comparison to a car, you know, you can take some cars 6, 7, even 8,000 miles. You know, some of these bikes, depending on how hard you're riding them, you might even want, you know, a 2, 3, 4,000, you know, mile maintenance or interval maintenance. So keep that in mind. It's going to get, it can be very costly depending on how much you ride and what you are actually riding. So, and that brings me into the fourth thing, you know, I wish I would have known, and it's the cost of gear. Gear is not cheap. Good gear is not cheap. I know I'm probably a poor example right now because I'm not wearing my riding jacket. I'm actually going to Iron Pony right now to get a leather jacket. I've been riding with some mesh jackets and some other things, and I finally decided it's just time. I want a leather jacket. It's a little bit more versatile. You know, I want something that's a decent size so I can wear a hoodie under it, different things like that. With all that being said, I'm going to go get a leather jacket right now. So, but anyways, you know, this stuff is pretty pricey. A leather jacket, a nice leather jacket can easily run you $500, $600, right? Same thing when it comes to, you know, riding pants, or, you know, your gloves. Your gloves are going to cost, you know, anywhere between $50 to $120 depending on what kind of gloves that you get. So, you know, gear can get expensive fast. You're going to want to buy multiple pieces of gear over time. You know, take your time, you know, allow the gear to accrue naturally. And, you know, that's going to lead me into my last and final topic. Fear, right? You know, before you buy a motorcycle, things I wish I would have known is understanding how much fear I was going to have of the motorcycle, of being out riding, the fear I was going to have of other drivers on the road. You know, it's a scary process. I mean, look at this. I mean, you see this guy merging, you see this guy speeding, like it's a rear-ended accident waiting to happen. But aside from all that, you know, it early on it's very fearful until you gather confidence and you gather the skill to, you know, efficiently ride on the streets. And, you know, you're looking ahead, you're seeing the obstacles, you're seeing the things that are happening around you. It's going to take time. You have to grow the confidence. You have to, you know, become more comfortable. You have to ride the same roads. You have to ride different roads, you know, challenge yourself to do different things. You know, for me, over the past week, I commuted 3 times to work on a motorcycle, and my commute's over an hour. And that was something that, you know, I've wanted to do to really help build my confidence for some highway riding. And, you know, it really did. I did it during the day. I did it during the night. And, you know, it's something that I'll say I could take away. You know, I don't recommend, you know, you build your confidence like that if that's not what you want. But do every type of riding that you possibly can. You know, if you could go off-road, if you could do long highway rides, if you could ride the streets, if you could go to a track, just do different types of riding. Working in the parking lot helps. You know, it's that crawling before you walk. And it's always good to possibly go back to a parking lot and just kind of work on some of the finer details. But, you know, with all that being said, you know, again, you know, do what works for you and go from there. So that just about sums it up. Sums up the discussions that I wanted to have around the 5 things that I wish I knew before I got on a motorcycle. Definitely happy to hear. I would like to see some folks drop some comments on, you know, what are some things that y'all wish y'all knew. I want to see if it differs at all from some of the things that I'm saying, but I definitely feel like, you know, some of these concerns are pretty universal, because, you know, as you're stepping into a motorcycle, you're like, oh, you know, I'm gonna buy this super cheap thing, I'm gonna jump on this thing, you know, buy a cheap helmet and and that's not the case, you know. This hobby can be very expensive like any others, so you know, keep that in mind. Alright y'all, so gonna be getting ready to close out this video. Finally made it to my destination, but I didn't want to just make it like an abrupt stop at the end, as I was pulling up to this place. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Again, thank you all for the support on that last video. I really want to see that video hit 1,000. Please make sure you all are dropping a like, a comment, share if you want, as well as just subscribing to the channel. Again, thank you everybody for, you know, the continued support so far, and I see y'all next week for the next video.